All right, this is our
You're also
monthly
IT director now.
water and sewer meeting. It's November 12th. So we have a full committee, so that's great to see. Thanks for everybody coming. So we have an agenda. Make a motion, we approve the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. Oh, Ross? Yeah, okay. All right, and on approval of the September 12th. Should be instead of October 8th. We didn't have a quorum for the October 8th meeting, so. So September 12th is what's in your packet, so. Make a motion for that.
Yeah, it shows 10 on the top of the.
Okay, yes, yeah, September 10th, not 12th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Any changes or corrections? Other than- Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, first item on our agenda is Robert Mikado would like to speak with us about his restoration complaint, ponding water, turf restoration of lawn and drainage channel through the property, so.
Let me stand up.
Yeah, please stand up, yeah.
Hi, I'm Robert. And I live at 810 Second Avenue Southeast. And I've been dealing with this since September, a couple years ago. And basically, a lot of the issues have been resolved, okay? I've been working with Joe and Fitzgerald. But like on September 1st, 2 years ago, the Fitzgeralds went through my yard. And, you know, instead of having that pipeline right away, they went well beyond. They went 40 feet near my property line going to the other people's property, and then almost 60 feet frontage on the roadway, okay? And basically, I was talking to, or I emailed Mr. Palin about these issues, and he said that the restoration of the yard will be taken care of next spring, which I understand it's getting cold now. But what my concern is the pooling. When they went through my yard, they made a ditch, basically. I had the water going around the natural flow of the concourse of my property. But they just did a straight ditch because they said they received a complaint from my neighbor. But I talked to the neighbor and he never complained about it, according to him. But I just want to make sure that I won't have these issues with the pooling of water. I know Joe wrote me that the land is kind of flat right now, but that's because they came in and they were excavating, they were moving the Bobcat all around my yard. I could show you pictures where the different height, where I had a flagpole or at the fence line, where, you know, there was about this much difference in the height of the dirt that was removed. So I just want to make sure that I go ahead on the punch list and that these issues are taken care of. Because, you know, they did some work while I was gone. When I got back, I could see the strip where they did some work, but it's nowhere near. And I took pictures of the pooling places and they're still pooling in the areas that I identified. So the yard, the lawn, because of not really having grass seed thrown down, or as they may say, the erosion from the grass or the runoff washed the grass seed away, which I concur. But I seeded the yard where they did a lot of the work 2 years ago, a year ago, September during that time. And I got the grass growing, but I have a lot of weeds in the yard. And Mr. Palin said that they did throw a weed killer out there, but the area that they're working on, it looks like maybe about 20 feet, but I got a whole area there that's over 40 feet, and on the frontage, about 60 feet. So I just like to be I would like to ensure that I get put on the punch list, I think you called it, that these issues will be taken care of, because I've mowed the yard and I go through that yard, and because of the pooling, my mower gets stuck and I have to push it out. So I didn't mow that area for a period of time, and it really looks really bad. So,
Okay,
but I just want to go on the record that I would like this stuff taken care of as the contract stated.
Is this that natural kind of drainage area, that low spot right at the bottom there?
Yeah, it
Okay,
goes
where
there
that's
where they
water.
put the concrete,
Yeah.
and it used to go into our yard and then curve to the left and then curve to the right. And now I got two areas because of where they made the ditch, but then they put dirt in to make the curve back there.
Mhm.
It pulls right off the roadway and it pulls near the fence line. So, so you seen the yard?
Yeah, I drive that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I know that area gets a lot of water during the spring thaw and all that stuff, but even like with the light rain that we had the other day, I had pooling out there. And I'm afraid to take my lawnmower through there because I thatched the yard the other day and all that stuff. And it's a hassle where I can't maintain the yard because of these low areas where the water pools. But I just like to get reassurance that this will be put on the punch list, be taken care of. And the area that they need to work on is that 40-foot area, and it goes up to 60 feet there around the frontage part of the road.
okay. Okay, you've seen pictures of it yourself.
I know that they done the work, but if they would have done it right, first couple of times they didn't, I wouldn't be here complaining. So not complaining, it's expressing my concerns.
Sure.
And
Okay,
I know Joe said that they would take care of the grass, but I asked him about the waterway as he referred to it. Because in his email back to me, he says he's done with it. So I said, as a representative, are you saying that you're not going to live up to the contract? And he just said, rest assured that we will restore part of it. But I sent another email asking, is that including what you referred to as the waterway? So, but I never got a response on that one.
Robert, I think there's some confusion about my responses and the contractor's responses.
Okay.
I copied the contractor on that response. Luke tends to respond to emails. When it comes from his email, it's not coming from
Oh, it's
me.
not coming from you.
He's not a city employee. He's not a city representative. He's a city contractor.
Right.
We are different parties. One contracts with the other to do work.
Okay, I
They're
was
responsible to do the work. So when he responds unprofessionally at times. He's a contractor. You should ignore that. I was copying him on the emails for his awareness of the situation.
Okay, the only reason I thought it was you is because on the email that's forwarded to me has your name on it. And
Under what I say is my signature, and it comes from my email address, not Luke's.
okay, that's why I was
So
saying that.
That's maybe part of your source of confusion. But just like I said in my email, I'm aware of the issue. The contractor's been out there. They'll continue to have to be out there until the issues are addressed. And it complies with the contract requirements. And I'm the person that administers that for the city. And so I will continue to talk to Luke, regardless of what he says in an email. The correspondence really should go back and forth between the resident, you, and the city, whether that be me or Jason or Kane.
Well, I know when you respond to me, you copy forward like there was 3 other people, because when I send my email to you, I send it to you, to Jason now as the city administrator, and Luke, and then there was another person on there, but I guess she might have left or something like that. So I deleted her from the list. The only reason the confusion is because the email says your name on it. So, but if Luke is using your email,
He's not using my email. It's just that it's an email chain, and so my contact information is below Luke's response. He'll just respond on his phone, and so he doesn't have a signature. He doesn't have those types of things. But you gotta look at the email address and where the
Well, I look at it
email comes
because-
from. It didn't come from me.
it says you up on there, so, but I don't know. I mean, I got them right here. I mean, but, yeah, it's a moot point. I don't wanna, type the meeting. All I wanted is to get it done right. And I'm getting ready to take off for Florida. This is too cold up here. And,
So I think it's agreeable that it will be on the punch list or is on the punch
It
list.
is.
okay,
So that's when we'll take a look at it. I guess a couple questions. When it does pool, how long does the water stay there? Doesn't it drain away though?
the one near the fence line, it might go away, like 5, 6 hours. It depends how heavy the rain is. The other one, with the light rain the other day, was out there for maybe a day.
Okay.
And
Well,
then,
Okay, I just want to get an idea for the pooling and how that impact your lawn mowing and having to mow through those areas when it's wet versus waiting, I guess. That's,
well, like I got pictures of it and all that stuff from the other day where there's 2 pools on opposite side of that strip where they put the grass in. They
okay.
have like a rope mesh down and all that, so. And that's growing good because I've been watering the yard and all that stuff, trying to get the yard to grow back, but.
So and this drainage is different now than it was before the project started.
Yeah, because what I was told that a ditch is a straight line, it makes the water flow much straighter. And that's why
Wait
they,
a minute. So
Joe,
just for
if I- yeah.
clarification, so the contractor tried to straighten out the ditch and they've been out there 6 times regrading the ditch. And so Robert had indicated that, he wanted some curves in the ditch to more mimic the way it used to be rather than more of a straight linear ditch. And so the contractor came back again and again and again. And I think we've got the ditch where
I
you
think they've been there, well,
6 times or better.
not a half dozen times. I don't agree with that, but I mean, you could say they have, and I would say they haven't. I haven't been there all the time, but when I got back this time, because we did some correspondence, I got back, I saw what they did, and I looked and I said, this ain't gonna take care of it because it's still low. I mean, because I got a low spot here, then goes up and then down and around, so. I got videos of it too,
Okay, that's-
from
okay.
like 4 years ago when Brady took pictures of the water running, so.
So my question though, Joe, was in that particular area, does the drawings call out a specific grading profile or does it say to restore to?
To restore it to pre-construction condition.
Okay, so if it didn't pool before and it does pool now, that's a concern that the contractor should be responsible for resolving?
That is why it's on the punch list.
Okay, all right.
Well, like when they finished the initial installation of the sewage line and the water line, it was okay. That was in July. And then September 1st, they came in there and they took out my yard. So, and that's when I started dealing first with Sonny, came down here with Joe and all that stuff. And no reflection on Joe, but I just want to make sure everything's done because sometimes I felt there was more of an adversarial type thing between us and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to do that. All I want is the yard to look like it was before. It's not going to look like it was before because the grass, I had different types of grass and it was all that way. But now with the bluegrass and all that kind of stuff and all that stuff, I could live with it. I mean, because it's grass, but I just don't want
Well, there's a lot of restoration going on in
Okay,
town.
yeah.
And obviously, the grass isn't gonna be perfect the first 6 months or maybe next year, or year after. It'll take a while, so.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it gets done and I know it'll be like going on 3 years since the project started. So I wasn't sure how far they are and like if they're gonna be finished now and. You
No,
know,
there's a warranty period that they will come back, just like any contractor that does work for the city. There's usually 12 months warranty on the work they do, so there is a punch list that started. And that list will continue and having the contractor come back to meet it to expectations, that's still the issue, so we'll
Right.
work on it next spring.
and if they want to check and all that stuff, they could dump water in my yard to see if it's still pulling, but I think they're gonna have to add dirt. I mean, because they removed dirt, in my opinion. I mean, because
Sure.
I could see the line and then that guy said it's like 3% or something like that. The first guy that came out,
Okay.
but I appreciate your time and,
Good.
uh,
Dirt settles a lot too, so that's the other issue, all this stuff, so.
okay. Well, just to know I'm on the punch list and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And, you know, there's only 2 issues left, so.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. Thanks for coming.
In rough terms, Joe, how much of the punch list is restoration work?
3/4 of it.
So significant?
Well, yeah, I mean, that is really the issue. The biggest issue is punch list work, you know, pipes in the ground, manholes are addressed by and large, most things are done. There are some miscellaneous things that are still getting done or need to get done, but the restoration pieces, the grading and restoration pieces. The biggest item, and there are, you know, 10 spots throughout town that need some attention for sure. And the corridor that he lives in, it's definitely one of them. His neighbor immediately downstream has issues too. There's quite a lot of drainage. There's over 1,000 acres that drains through that area. And the contractors put in some effort. They're not perfect for sure. Nobody is. But they have been putting in effort and trying to get it to go. Take some time, and I think they're in this spot specifically, they've been back 6-8 times and they're pulling out their hair, as you might have gathered from some of the correspondence that the contractor sent them back about.
I know
They're just frustrated.
there's another restoration item that came up over by Lift Station 3, path going down to Lift Station in Riverwood Park, or Riverwood Hills Park. There's been pooling in that water, so that's on the punch list as well. So, and that one is just, it was concrete, now it's asphalt, but it's pooling there where it didn't before, so that's the same issue.
It was never concrete. It was just dirt, gravel.
Oh, I thought it wasn't concrete.
No,
Okay. I don't remember seeing it. I thought it was.
remember the gravel used to wash down the ditch and the neighbor got mad?
Okay.
Was upset about that. I would be too. But that's
Okay.
the issue. That's the spot. And so they did come back and regrade that. We'll still have to take another look at that. See if that can be corrected with grading or what needs to be done
Okay.
there. I don't know if you've looked at it any closer, but
No, there was one time in there when this fall, it was so dry all the time. It's just like me, I got my stuff worked on, I got it seeded. Then we got that 3-inch rain and she's all gone.
Yeah.
So I did it over again. Another, had it all done, and that time we only got 1 inch, but it comes just like that, and it was all gone again. So I'm still working on it. I only got a little grass on it here and there, but it's coming, you can't keep up with it. So it's the same all over.
the reality is it's a kind of an exercise in patience. It takes time and it takes attention, and you know, it takes a little good luck because you gotta get decent weather to cooperate when you've got the seed in the ground.
I think it's important too. So if I heard you correctly, Joe, generally speaking, residents should be dealing with either Kane or yourself, right, or city administrator, not the contractor, right? And I know, for example, when I had my issue, which is, I understand, still on the punch list, you know, it was me and the contractor. And we don't have any, as residents, any leverage or really, you don't want us directing the contractor's work, right? Because it isn't part of the contract.
Well, they typically don't respond real well to,
Right.
you know, they don't, right?
Yeah, and so I think making sure that residents understand that the chain of communication should be to someone paid by the city. And then,
But I do like to respond, and sometimes I'll copy the resident like I did with Robert, just so he sees that, you know, there is correspondence going back to the contractor, directing them to correct the issue, and that, you know, their emails and comments don't just go into a black box and we say, yeah, we'll fix it, or have the contractor fix it, you know, that it's trying to be transparent with people and at the same time explaining, not making excuses for the contractor, because I'm not, but it does take time.
Is that punch list something the committee should be aware of, or as far as an agenda item in December or January, just, because we may get comments too. I don't know. If it's any value,
I guess that would be unusual
but, okay.
for the city to kind of manage to the level of reviewing punch list and those types of things. I would tend to not do that.
Okay. And I'm not saying to manage them, I guess just the awareness of where they are and, but. We can talk about that later too, but I understand what you're saying though. All right. Treatment facility. Any other comments? We'll continue on the agenda. Joe, you wanna comment on the stop status?
No pay request for stop this month. Second item is a change order. Did you by chance bring copies of the change order?
Did not.
I did not either. I have one copy. There are
a couple too, I did.
anybody that wants to look at it, it's here.
Stuff we've been talking about.
Yeah, there are two items on the change order. Both items we've been talking about for a long time. One item is the lab testing equipment. You know, the council authorized that. We've got to essentially pay that through the contract. Where we have a allowance for lab testing equipment. That purchase put us over the allowance by about $9,518. So in order to be able to pay the contractor for that, we need to increase that allowance amount over 50,000 to, you know, $59,118. So that's what we're doing with that. And then the other item is those pumps in the SBR that were undersized. There are one pump in each bay that pumps sludge to the digester, and we found out and we initiated operation that those pumps didn't perform at all head levels. And so the contractor agreed to replace them or change them out or upgrade those, but we're essentially paying for the cost to upgrade the facility over and above what's there. So they take out what's there and charge us for the upgrade. But that cost is about $17,350. We've talked about that before, and in fact, the 4 pumps are supposed to be delivered this week. You haven't seen them yet. Jason said he thought they would still be coming this week. So that's really what the change order is. The change order totals $26,868. That is the last change order that I would expect for the wastewater treatment facility. In total, we had on the almost $21 million, we had a total of with this change order, $227,000 in change orders. I remember that we had budgeted 2.5%. We're under that for this and well under that for Fitzgerald's contracts too. So this change order is to kind of formalize the process so we can ultimately make payment for those 4 pumps, as well as the testing equipment that we talked about. So again, it's a paperwork process that needs to be executed so we can ultimately make payment.
Joe, just a note here, the description and the list at the bottom don't match. Item B in the list is an MCC bucket.
Oh, Christ's sakes.
So-
Doesn't, okay.
Just a clerical thing. Clear up.
The holdover from a previous change order, I mustn't have changed, but I will change that and I'll ask Stop to re-sign it. Avoid any confusion with the PCA because it's got to go there next. Like after the council approves it, of course, then it goes to the PFA and MPCA, and I will get that catch.
You sent that to Jason to put in the packet the other way now. Change order.
I did. So you have the signed copies of this. I will get that type of ish fixed, but yeah.
All right. Outstanding issues.
Outstanding issues, kind of, an update on the miscellaneous things. We've been waiting for the switch gear. One of 2 panels of the switch gear has been delivered. We're trying to confirm when the second is, coming. We've been trying to, or the contractor's been trying to confirm that over the last 2 weeks, and we still don't know. Unless you know something different, that's what I know, based on Jason's most recent update from Staub. Automatic Systems been out and they have pretty much done everything that they need to do until the switchgear is installed, and they have some additional programming and coordination work to do. Valor was out and they did complete most of the items on their list. I think they have one item that they did replace a motor, but they traced the issue back to the electrical panel, and of course Kilmer will have to fix that, and they'd like to fix that when they're here to install a switchgear, so that'll get done. But they did make progress on getting their stuff done. The waste sludge pumps we talked about, hopefully are being being delivered this week yet. We had hoped to get them last month, but there was some shipping delays that delayed their arrival. And then the tree replacements, there are 4 dead trees out there that they did replace. And then still working on the signage for the perimeter fencing. That should be coming.
They replaced the 4 or have to replace them.
They did replace them last week. I think that's the update on that. Any items we want to talk about?
Were there hydrogen sulfide alarms, Kane, was that? Were we talking about that in the previous?
Yeah, some issues that need to be fine tuned.
I'm just curious if, I'm assuming that Valor had a balancing, testing and balancing report that just verified that the ventilation systems had the appropriate airflows and everything was working right.
I thought that they did do that type of commissioning work already, but I don't know for sure. I'd have to ask Jeff.
We'll have to follow up with the test and balancing report as well as the current operation of the HVAC controls. There's no status right now on the controls right now, so they're just running, but no status.
Okay.
Something Joe could figure out.
Jump on it, man. Automated logic.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did you guys vote to recommend the change order? Do you need to do that? Yeah, for the change order for the council?
No, we should make a motion to recommend. Yeah. A good point, Kitch. I make a motion, we recommend the approval of change order number 5 for $26,868. Second?
I'll second the motion.
Joe. Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Approved. People service. I don't know, I don't think I have enough copy of reports. This is the one. It's dated October 7th. We would have looked at it at the October meeting. I have not seen one for October. That's usually dated early November. Have you, Jim? Kane?
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, the September one.
This is the September report.
We received it yesterday.
Okay, that's, okay.
Do you have it, Ryland?
No, I don't, I didn't get it.
I guess you could read off my email if you'd like to, or
Yeah, I can real quick.
I
I'll
think
include it with the minutes.
the first page is kind of the
Yeah,
rundown.
it's the first page. Wastewater operation and maintenance, monthly DMR was completed and sent to state. All weekly samples were collected and sent into the lab. All daily tests and paperwork were completed for the month. All monthly orders and plant maintenance were completed. Met with the state to go over the erosion control on the banks of the river on September 17th. At the beginning of the month, we were still getting very good total N nitrogen numbers. And they jumped up the week of September 16th and continued to get worse in the following weeks. It took a while to figure out what was causing it, discovered that the plant decant valves were left open from initial completion of the holding tanks. The solids we were wasting were coming back into our SBR tank. We corrected the issue, but due to the amount that got in the SBR over the few weeks, it is something that is going to take a while to work its way back out of the system. Had Minnesota pump along with electric pump out at the pump to fix a mixer and the reclaim pump. That's the SBR tank, the mixer. Okay. So still finding the little gotchas. They do have one comment. I got this over the weekend. I did get a memo from Peoples asking per the contract, the 2.5% increase on chemical costs. It'll be in the council packet for the council to look at. Those are $300-400 for the council expenditure, so. I should have made copies of, I had 2 copies and I was supposed to sign them, but we need to go to the council for approval first for their awareness, and I'll include that with the meeting minutes. So that's all I have for peoples, unless Kane, you have anything else? Just before we leave the treatment plant, the open house went very well for those that were able to make it out there. It was a nice day, a good crowd, people that came there. Mark Hansen, who was one of the Stantec engineers that worked on it first, he came from New Ulm. Senator St. John was here. I think a lot of contractor people were there. Some people didn't recognize or representatives from the company. So overall, that was well received.
A few folks from the PCA, I think, were there as well. And kind of some surrounding public works departments I saw.
Yes. One other city administrator there from Zumbrota. Several city administrators emailed me, said they couldn't make it, but I indicated if they want to see, they still want to stop out sometime. Rick Kane and have a tour of the facility as well, so we may get, I haven't heard anything yet, but we may get some inquiries, but, it was a really good day, so. All right, Fitzgerald? No pay request? That'll probably be the thing until next spring.
Actually, we'll probably have one next month. They did do some electrical work at Riverbend Estates here this month, and so we'll have to pay them for that.
Okay,
Be a small pay request, but, and then, we might actually have a pay request here, depending on when that switch gear goes in,
right,
for stop, in the next month or so.
okay.
In terms of the contract updates, we kind of talked about turf restoration. Both Ellingson and Fitzgerald had done some, fine grading and overseeding this fall, at this point. And over the last month, they've, we're outside the seed date, so typically they don't do anything but dormant seeding, and we're not quite to the point where they would even consider dormant seeding, so. Their plan, I think, is to wait till next spring and hopefully get some snow and rain and see what happens. And then address issues that are deficient at that point. As I noted, contractor was at Riverbend Estates, and the electrical contractor was at the lift station in Riverbend. They had the dialer to install along with the generator receptacle. I think both of those items got completed. Kane assisted with both of those. Air vacuum release manhole, training and leakage issue. We've been having some issues with air release manholes, and we've been working with the contractor and the supplier to replace some existing seats in those valves. We got two of them mailed to us finally, and the other ones are supposed to be on back order. Trying to go back and forth and work that through with the contractors, like pulling teeth, but we're making some progress, I think. And we're still trying to coordinate a training that they're supposed to provide us. I think you responded to that today, actually.
Yeah.
So see if we can make some progress on that. And then discussion of smell at lift station 1. I don't know if there's been additional.
I haven't
Comment
heard
or-
anything, mainly because people are outside now, so we probably won't hear anything until next spring, if then at all.
No news is good news.
That's right. They got our number, but we haven't heard anything yet. Same thing with the one up on Third Street Southeast.
Yes, I just got some more absorption pucks that we're gonna be installing in Third Street.
Okay. Did we put some over in Tilly's too?
We did.
You did, okay, all right, good. So it'll be on your punch list to check every once in a while.
Yep.
To replace. All right. Anything else with Fitzgerald?
Separate from the project, but I saw, River Park Place Southeast, open sewer. What happened,
Incident this weekend with the,
yeah,
you want to explain what happened there? What you found, I guess, I know what happened, but you,
So, yeah, homeowners had a backup inside the house. They contacted Jetter Clean to come out and jet the line. Jetter Clean found that 70 feet away from the basement, near the road, the edge of the pavement, the pipe was crushed. I was contacted yesterday morning.
the lateral or the main?
The service, the lateral, yeah. So I was contacted, we're gonna kind of talk about some of this real quick here, but I was contacted, I made the call that it was in the right of way, we should take care of it. Gopher Septic was able to come out after the emergency locate was called in, and they were able to fix it. Of course, Jetter Clean was able to pinpoint where the crush was. So when Gopher showed up, they had to hand dig around to the gas main, because that was right on top of the lateral sewer. And that's when they found that the gas main had burst through the sewer line. So
Years ago.
8 years ago, they built this house. The gas was in, the electric was in, and then the sewer was put in afterwards. I presume, right? All the utilities are in and then houses get developed. So for 8 years, it worked with being busted, so. They shouldn't have been paying Jack all those years.
We won't go there. Okay,
So anyway, with that, we should have some clear language in the city's ordinance to say, where's the homeowner's responsibility and where is the city's responsibility?
There's no curb stops.
Nope, it's a gravity line, so there's no curb stops, and this is a new to the city, a sewer service, sewer utility. So discussing some of these things and having a plan of where that start and stop is. Some towns, the city only takes care of the main, some towns, they take care of a portion of it. It's no right or wrong answer, but we just need to have an answer, a clear answer we can tell the homeowners.
In this instance, it's clear to me that this is the gas company's responsibility to pay the bill for the repair. So the city, neither the city or the property owner should pay for this. And the city's ordinance, utility ordinance does address whose responsibility it is. I read it today. It's kind of difficult to understand. So might want to take a look at that, and you know, maybe other people think it's clear as a bell, but I don't.
So you have good photos, documentation.
I've got a photo from Gopher. There was another emergency yesterday with another on the west side of town with a grinder station. And that was the gravity line from the house to the grinder. And kind of, same kind of thing, where does the responsibility, who owns what, who's responsible for it? So like with our water utility, the city's responsible from the main up to the curb stop. From the curb stop into the private property, it's the homeowner. So what makes sense is if sewer was identical to that, right? But then again, it would make sense too if sewer was the homeowner's responsibility all the way to the main. Some towns do that. Dylan, I don't know if you're familiar with Rochester's.
You know, I think generally speaking, the lateral is the homeowner, the main is the city, and if it's at the connection, well, then I guess you review it and.
Right, that's what I would typically recommend. Not everybody does it that way, but it makes sense to me because that lateral only benefits one person or one entity, and that's the property owner.
Right, and I think the lateral is usually put in like in new construction by the contractor, and so that connection point falls on the homeowner who's paying the contractor. Grinder station, city funds paid for the grinder station, but nothing connected to it, I think, right?
Well, we connected to the gravity pipe up till, 5 to 10 feet from the house, wherever we could reasonably connect to it. And so from that point where that clean out is to the house, that is really the property owners. We can't go into the house. We aren't really supposed to work within 5 feet of the house.
So there's a clean out that kind of is the
Delineator,
okay.
I would think, yes.
And then the electrical service is completely the homeowners,
Yes.
right?
From the transformer.
Up to the disconnect.
Up to the electrical disconnect outside the house, yeah.
From the disconnect to the control panel, I think that was all done by the project. So yesterday, this west side sewer problem, there was no clean out installed at that connection, an oddity, but they're all odd, they're all unique, they're all very unique. Some have tanks in front, tanks in back, tanks close to the house, so really they're all unique in a sense, so typically, if we got called to a grinder station, somebody called and said, hey, I'm backed up in the basement. I would go out to the grinder, I'd manually run the grinder, and I'd say the grinder runs. We're good, the city's good. You've got a backup between your house and the grinder. And I suppose we could check the clean out, if there was a clean out installed, really connected to the gravity sewer, we could run a snake down that or a camera and verify, hey, from here to the grinder, it's clear. But from here back to the house, the old existing pipe that was not touched, maybe you got a dip in the pipe, maybe you got a crushed pipe or bad connection,
Or if they're
roots.
flushing gallons of bacon grease down and.
That could be
even
the
if
issue too, yes.
Baby wipes.
That,
Yeah.
that happened a year ago, I think. Clogged drain in the house.
Yeah,
It
so-
started up to be the grinder problem, but as it turns out, it was in the house grinder, the private line.
And so even if the clog were to happen, the pipe that belongs to us, I mean, the clog still isn't our responsibility, so that would be something that would normally fall back on the homeowner.
So two different situations yesterday, kind of two different scenarios. And of course, the city still does not have an on-call plan, how we're going to handle this. So when I get called on my day off, I'm picking up the phone because I don't want this to turn into a bigger problem. You know, I'm just dealing with it, I'm just rolling with it, but just addressing these issues before they become larger issues and
We need
coming
to
up.
be, tell the homeowner where it's their responsibility versus us right now. It's not clear. We
Well,
need that
sometimes you don't
definition.
know that until you dig the hole.
What's that?
Sometimes you don't know until you dig the hole and you find a
Oh,
gas
yeah,
line,
you don't.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
so a lot of times it's everybody's responsibility until you can figure out, okay, not you, not you, not you, you're the only guy left.
Yeah.
So,
So, I guess takeaway for the conversation is that our ordinance need review and defined and clearly talked about for better defined than what it is already, so. Is that something, Kane, you and I'd look at, or how do you see this working out, or?
Like Joe said, he read through the ordinance today and it's not very clear. It's not an easy read. I wish that could be simplified, but I'm sure there's reason behind some of that language. Jason, I guess I'd lean on Jason and the legal team to support.
We've talked in depth about this over the last couple of days and, you know, and even before that, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned up with the ordinance and. Yeah, but it's something I told Kane, we want to get this on your guys' radar now so you can start having this discussion, so we can start moving this forward, because even from the point of this resident called in, like the name of the company, I forget, anyways, to do this scoping, to figure out what was going on, who does that fall onto? You know, Kane and I had this back and forth today, and I feel it's the resident, you know, you're the homeowner, it's something inside your house, it's your responsibility, you're taking care of it. Ultimately, yes, it led to where it led to today, but, you know, get the pipe fixed and all that stuff, but there's things like that, even the little things that weren't thought of at the beginning of this project, we need to make sure clearly defined for the residents and for the city going forward, so that way we know how to best handle situations and direct the residents as to, you know, proper steps to take.
So what do you say you've been talking about? Have you had conversations with Mike about it or his
No.
staff? Oh, just
Haven't
internally?
gotten that far, just
Okay.
Kay and I have been talking, just trying to work through some things and figure out what we need to do next, so.
Okay.
So I know within the city of Rochester, a lot of the calls from homeowners do come through a plumbing contractor. Homeowner sees wastewater in the basement, they call a plumber comes out, does their thing, discovers that there's a blockage in the main or some other place, and then typically most plumbers will have the on-call City of Rochester number, and they'll get a hold of somebody and call in a collection system person to come and help sort out what the issue is. But a fair number of those processes do involve private plumbers and drain cleaners and things, because that's homeowner flips open the yellow pages, and it's a lot easier to get somebody out there like that than to call, 1-800 City Hall and on a weekend when there's nobody working, so.
And nor do I think we should be going into people's houses and try and solve this stuff either. I mean, that's an extra liability on the city. So.
Usually I think they'll let up, when the city guys come out, they'll let them start opening manholes.
Yeah.
Find out if we've got blockages in the city part of the collection system, or if it's just the homeowners.
Okay. We'll make sure there's some follow-up on our follow-up on agendas, kind of keep that going, 'cause it's not gonna go away, so we don't try and.
Kane, you know Derek, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a Derek.
Yeah.
I need a couple Dereks is what I need.
All right, I think that's it for Fitzgerald. I want to circle back to this punch list from our earlier discussion, and I think too, that I guess from a committee's perspective, or at least my perspective and other people, but I think that's, it's between you and the contractor to make those things resolve, and you probably don't want 7 more opinions on how it should be done, so it'd be better just to, we put that responsibility into your relationship with the contractor. You represent the city, so. Really see a reason to bring it back to us, and unless a resident appears in front of us, then we can probably have some background, but.
Yeah, that's normally how it's dealt with.
We'll take that direction. Last item is carryover regarding penalty for failure to secure sewer water connection permit prior to commencing work. Any feedback from your discussion yet, or?
So this just happened on Friday. Beautiful day out, contractors are trying to get work done, people are trying to get hooked up. And this happened on Friday. Somebody got a water line dug in without permit. And it put me and my staff in a situation. Do we allow this? Do we tell them to say, no, you can't do this? You know what? It just puts us in a situation. Obviously, we want to see people get connected. We don't want to be the reason they didn't get connected, or it froze up the next day and they weren't able to. And so, of course, this resident, they did not have water. Their well pump went out. So kind of an emergency, but I walked them through step by step 2 weeks previous on what needed to be done. City Hall, permit, contractors, contacting city staff and getting the proper steps for a trouble-free installation. Well, none of those steps were followed. It was just skip over all that. We're gonna hire a contractor to do this. So it happens. It's happened before this, and so I don't know if we can add an extra $100 or to the permit. I don't know if that's the answer.
Yeah, there's consequences for the actions, and so does it like they just blatantly didn't want to do it, or just forgot to do it?
I won't answer that. Like you say, we deal with this, City Hall, we deal with this. I know we had another permit come in that they never filled out the plumber. It was just such and such investment group, no plumber, no contractor, nothing, and they received a permit. So when all this work was happening, exterior and interior, and then they call for inspections and say the water meter is installed vertically, right? Well, that's a no-no, you can't do that. So I have to call them back, and then it's this back and forth. Now I'm at the house for a re-inspection and, you know, if they would have just filled out their permit completely to begin with. But I don't know, people are trying to get away with things. I don't understand why they're not filling out the permit. And of course, we're easygoing here. We wanna see people get connected. But then it puts us in these situations where we're making return trips and return inspections and it's taking time out of our days, so. It's unique to, I'm sure this happens in other towns, but for Orinoco, I mean, it's a brand new sewer utility, brand new water utility, and if people aren't used to it, they're not used to filling out permits and working with the city and so it's, I'm trying to give as much grace as possible, but it's frustrating.
So I guess as far as this one that happened yesterday, or whatever it was, is. So they're coming in to get the permit now? Or you do-
They have not. So I'll have to go back out and talk with the homeowner again and walk through the steps and say, you gotta get to City Hall. That's your first step, right? I start with that with everyone. You don't know, go to City Hall and at least fill out the application, get the ball rolling and but that never happened, so.
Yeah, it does take your time away, but I guess that's hopefully there's.
It's part of the job.
So as far as that particular item on our agenda, we really. It's still an open item, I guess.
Just curious, so
Process.
do the permit fees, they go, so if we're doing the inspections, the city.
Yep.
Does the city keep those permit fees or do we give those to that other permit company?
Yeah, we have a portion of that we
We keep,
keep out, yeah.
okay, all right. So as long as we're not, just seems kind of silly that we would give that permit money to some other entity and then have to do the inspection
Yeah,
ourselves.
no, we're not doing that. I made sure that when we
Okay.
started going through this back in May, I think.
Okay.
When we were really looking at doing some of this stuff. The big thing is gonna be maybe getting support from water sewer as far as for our fee schedule. On our fee schedule, we don't have a fee for conducting work without the proper permits. For these different things, and that goes for any of our permit stuff. Building permits, these water meter hookups, things like that, doing all these things without getting the permits and applications filled out prior to working, we have no recourse to come back and say, hey, you do the work without this, you're gonna be tacked on an extra $100 fee for not properly filling this out because it's costing us time and, you know, we're getting these calls on odd hours and the extra work that goes into it because of that. So maybe coming up with something for support for that. I am working on next year's fee schedule right now and trying to put stuff together. But any input or advice is always helpful and welcomed, so.
A re-inspection fee, I mean, I think that's, totally legitimate. Benefits twice of what the original inspection fee is.
Yeah.
There's that. We pay that in commercial, if we've got to have a re-inspection, so.
And there's a fee for re-inspection too,
There is already.
Yeah.
Okay.
$80, I think, something like that.
You gotta have a permit to get an inspection. Skip the permit, it's free, everything's free.
Yeah, really.
So. How many permits do you think we've given out so far? 150, 100? I mean, this is not a normal situation, but there's ones off like this, but for the most part, they're doing the right thing. It's just these.
Yeah, I'd say there's a dozen or so that have come in that we know of, right? There's some out there that we don't know of. They're hooked up to water or sewer. That'll come out eventually.
Yeah. Okay. All right, in control. Dylan McCain, we're looking at something.
Yeah, so last meeting I came to the committee with the cybersecurity plan that In Control put together for the city, which is being mandated by Department of Health. Saying we have to have these measures in place. Dylan had some questions. I had questions. Dylan and I were able to meet with In Control. Dylan, do you want to take away?
Two things. I think they're responsible and integrator. Seems like they do reasonable work for the water system. And so there's a good working relationship there. And I think they're proposing service and a piece of equipment that is valuable so that the folks in the city can have a firewall between the water system and the larger internet, and then also can allow a remote connection. And then they've kind of bundled up this annual service agreement that says, hey, for this amount of money, we'll cover your annual subscriptions costs for this piece of equipment, and also we'll do these other things for you and do backups to your systems. Valuable services, but I think what I asked them specifically to do, once you buy this firewall, you really do need to pay, the city will need to pay annually to keep it up to date. And even if you choose not to proceed with the other services that In Control's offering, that firewall service agreement needs to be kept up. And so that wasn't clearly really called out in their quote that said, you know, hey, here's your upfront cost for this piece of equipment, and the annual fee every year going forward.
SMA, software maintenance agreement.
Right, and so it was all just bundled up in this cybersecurity and whatever agreement. And so I thought it was at least important. They said they won't split out any of the other services they provide, which that's their business model. They're free to do that. But I thought it was important, at least for council, to see that a certain portion of this, once you bought into it, you're really responsible for paying it almost indefinitely, even if you choose not to go ahead with the rest of the service agreement. So they're gonna put those two costs kind of as a separate thing in the next proposal and give it to Kane if they haven't already.
They have not. I wish I had it in front of me, the breakdown of those two items, but they have not. So it will be coming to next water and sewer
December.
December.
Okay.
So, thanks, Dylan, for helping out there.
Great. Next item was Cedar Woodlands 1, the existing lift station pump.
So that there I can take the lead, Ryland. The People's Energy Co-op contacted myself about large kilowatt draws for the month, large usage. When I opened up that lift station, I found a busted pipe fitting on one of the pumps and a bad check valve. So what happens, two pumps, common header, one is pumping, some of it is just going back into the lift station and some of it is going to the new lift station. Some of it's getting pumped, some of it isn't. So that was constantly running. So anyway, they let us know, we found that, I contacted Gopher Septic, they've worked on this lift station in the past. They were able to fix the check valve and the busted pipe. But with that, the cover to the lift station was about ready to, you could probably fall right through it. So luckily they had a used one for us. So we got that on there, it's secure now, things are good. But with that lift station does not have a generator receptacle. So it does serve about a dozen homes in Cedar Woodlands and pumps it to the new lift station 4. Is that something, I think it's worthy of having Kilmer or soliciting bids to get a generator switch installed. The rest of our lift stations have that capability. I think this one should have it too. It is a small lift station. I don't think it would take a large generator or that big of switchgear, but it would take possibly a dialer and actual switchgear like River Bend. And I don't know the price tag on River Bend, Joe, but because there was a bunch of other things involved there, so.
Yeah, I don't remember what the number was either. I wanna say like 15,000.
Penn State standard says it's gotta, or has to take two sources of power, right? I think is,
Yeah, that, and we're talking about a lift station that was installed originally as part of Cedar Woodlands first edition.
Correct.
So it's been there for a while.
So the city will get the bill from the Gopher for the pump that they put in there then?
For the repairs, yeah, I needed to get it fixed and repaired, so I had to move forward with it. It's kind of an emergency. We were only running on one pump, so if that pump were to fail, we were kind of in an emergency situation.
Pumps.
Yep, it's a 2-pump lift station.
One's okay, one replaced.
Not the pump, just some of the fittings.
Oh, the check valve.
Yep. So 2 pumps are up and running right now, and like I say, I would like to get the committee's consent to look at possible generator receptacle and a dialer.
So people had noticed that or contacted us, we wouldn't have known because there's no sensor or other relay or other switch.
No, you would have had to have stumbled upon it, do a,
Regular inspection.
a visual inspection.
Yeah, there's no telemetry.
So do you, are you gonna put something in your public works plan to check on it once a week, once a month, or what's your plan?
Yeah, that's what we can do. People's Services right now has the rest of the lift stations and they have their own maintenance plan and inspection plans. So
I think they have that one too.
they do. So I doubt they know that. But anyway, yeah, I was thinking it should have a generator backup.
Well, if you can, so with your, it's not a big facility or a big, but you can still use your mobile generator if you needed to with.
Yep, our mobile generator can run something as small as a shop vac. So,
Well, I think it'd be good to get a quote. Just to take a look at that remote assembly, what it would take. Now, if it takes more than, so that would be added to the box that's there now, or does it need a new box too?
probably need a new switchgear box. It'd be a little bit of, I don't know if you guys have seen the River Bend one, but there's a new panel that was installed and
Is that a consensus with the committee to get a quote?
Yeah, sure.
Because I do think it's our responsibility, so we should initiate an effort to get that. Probability of it happening is low, but you never know. It's not perfect, so. So why don't you go ahead and get a quote for, bring it back to the committee, and we can review it and timeline and whatever is necessary with that, so. Would that be something you go for numerous quotes or just the same quote that you got, or same supplier that's using all the lift stations?
I'd try to get 2 quotes for it.
is it Automatic Systems? Did they do the lift station panels?
They did, Kilmer did the electrical work
Okay.
for them.
This last one at River Bend, it was Kilmer and the switchgear, and then Kilmer also installed this dialer. So, I don't know if automatic had much to do with the
I
dialer.
don't think they had anything to do with it either.
Either, yeah, so.
All right, anything else on that situation? River Bend's all taken care of, from our perspective, from the city's perspective, so. All right, before we talk about the December meeting, Larry indicated this is gonna be his last meeting. So, we were talking the other day about when you originally started and we never did come up with a firm date. I know they had round stones or something like that. You got,
There was no sand.
Started was clear back in 1965.
65, wow. That's awesome.
That's when went door to door. We had to have 500 signers just to incorporate, get out of the township.
Wow.
Been since that. So I know you guys getting too old to keep that going.
59 years.
Well, of course, that was.
Off and on.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, well, that's been
Through the whole process, I just figured John need to take over my part, whereas he had a little problem getting here for meetings in the summertime.
yeah, that's
He works so
a
late,
challenge, but we
everything, but. How much longer will there be a water and sewer committee now that, once we get everything established and, everything's up and running?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, we have phase 1B to work on, and that'll probably start, I'd say, early next year to start planning for it. And, this one took 9 years, but that included a treatment plant. So I would hope it's not 9 years. But I think it'll be around for a while. So.
I've been on since 97 or 98 with this.
Okay.
I don't make every meeting either, but
What did you guys talk about before we had a water system? Just curious.
How to get a water system.
How to get
Power.
All right.
yeah, it took us what, 10 or 15 years
That's
to
right,
get
they
that
talked about
crank on the hill.
Oh, yeah, it's been, I know, yeah.
I mean,
Well, anyway, we do appreciate your volunteer time, and I think you're deserving of a round of applause.
I could write a book, but I ain't gonna.
So you told me you had a suitcase of all the minutes from,
Yeah, I have. I got
you can get rid of
one
that suitcase now, so.
case deals with all the minutes and.
Oh.
Well, I served, I had about 2 terms on the city council.
That's right, okay.
Is all that and it got to be the point where I had so many meetings to go to all the time. I'd come home at night, he'd say, "Where are you going tonight, Dad?" So, and just had to kind of put a stop to that. So I got off the city council, but I stayed through this process, the whole thing. So I've been around.
Appreciate it very much.
So anyway, I think it's time for somebody else.
Whenever you
Hope you can come up with enough guys to come show up at the meetings.
John, see, what you got to look forward now, another 40 years.
All right, I make a motion, the meeting adjourned. Have a second?
Well,
I want you neatly up to the post sometime.
That's
All in
something,
favor,
39
signify by
years.
saying aye.
I would have brought a cake if I
Thank you.
I think at 60, they give you a convertible.
Right.
With
You're
the
6
glass handle door, the door handles are toilet flushers.
Stuff that,
oh,
one time they had a big